monsters. Are they real?
奥斯卡金奖大导演朗霍华和雷神克里斯汉斯沃再度携手，《白鲸传奇怒海之心》海上场面超震撼。
He's been following us!
除了克里斯汉斯沃，这回船上还有吸血鬼猎人林肯男星班杰明沃克，6月才刚成为新一代蜘蛛人的19岁小鲜肉汤姆荷兰，黑暗骑士系列的席琳墨菲，这艘船的颜值真的超高的。
Don't you quit on me, we're going home.
Crew clearing, let's stand by. And action.
不过再怎么帅，故事讲的是启发《白鲸记》这本小说的真实遭遇，大海场面绝对不少。导演大费周章找来真船在海上拍摄辽阔场景外，其他就在伦敦片场内拍摄，但可别以为不在海上就没有晕船这件事了。
Thanks to digital technology, you could be in more brutal, more difficult environments. It was great for this movie, but it was a little tough on the actors.
We had the big, large replica of the ship on a gimbal, basically, which would rock back and forth, and then they'd shoot water cannons at us.
You couldn't hear yourself, and you're completely soaking, but it's tremendously exciting to do that stuff. And the storm sequence was, for all of us, like one of the highlights.
What was the most challenging for you, like climbing up the yacht arms or remembering all the proper name of rigging the ship?
Yeah, probably the rigging and the knots and things like that were the sort of, the things I was so unaware of and was, foreign to me. I just think that sort of the whole 4 months was just sort of climbing a mountain constantly. You're eating less, the days are longer, you're exhausted, but helped identify with these characters and who we were portraying.
Did you get seasick at all?
I didn't get seasick.
Wow, lucky you.
I know, big time. I mean, there are a lot of people that did.
You are no stranger to be wet all over in the movie, and what was the biggest difference from this one?
Well, obviously in The Impossible I was in the water for most of the time. On this one I was wet, but on a boat. And and that was harder for me because the ground is always moving and you're always falling over and trying to balance and I'm sure you've been on a boat. They're not comfortable places. And there was a lot of shifting around trying to get comfortable on those boats, so it was pretty hard. It was pretty tough.
So did you get seasick at all?
I did, actually. The first 2 days were pretty horrendous, and it was really scary because I was terrified that the rest of the shoot was going to be that way. But no, I soon got over it and was okay.
So you throw up for real?
Yes, once or twice.
Which scene took you most time to complete?
The attack of the whale. Sinking of the ship and the men having to abandon ship was a sequence that was very involved, very detailed, lots of elements. Some of them movie magic, some of them real physical elements, and again, physical challenges for the actors, stunts, activity, emotion. It was a challenging sequence.
Not fun. I mean, it was, there were big fans and water cannons and the boat is pitching and rolling, but for me, it was like just being on an amusement park ride. I enjoyed it.
Actors usually have to wait between takes, and how did you spend your time?
Well, I mean, because we were out on the ocean, there was really nowhere to go, as soon as they called cut. And we were all so tired and hungry, we just kind of laid down and took naps. I mean, we were kind of miserable, but we just slept a lot.
You were wet all over in almost every scene in the first part of the film, and you must be like sun dry in the second part of the film. Which way do you prefer?
Yeah, it was funny. It was kind of like the extremes of both. When we were wet, it was all shot in London. It was freezing. When we were hot and in the sun, well, that second half of the movie was in the Canary Islands. I prefer to be hot, I think, yeah, than dry and than freezing cold. I do better with the heat, I think. When the ship is sinking, the whale oil catches fire and Chase has to kind of swim. I remember swimming under at one point, and they said, yeah, you got to go right down and you're attached to a cable so you can't come back up and get burnt. So don't worry, you won't get burnt. And I was like, what about oxygen? They're like, yeah, you're going to hold your breath through that period.
I tried to really put the audience in that place they want to be, where they can really experience this awesome aspect of nature. The cameras are there with them. You just have this sense that you're right next to these men, experiencing what they experience.
Burn whales they are! You go up in the mast and you feel like a pendulum up there, and used every bit of strength to kind of hang on because you felt like you're going to topple off. That's a beautiful view up there, man. It was a pretty special spot to spend the day and call it your office.
You know, something feels sick at first.
Please, pull me back up!
Best way to square it with King Neptune, boy. Swab the deck, kid.
The scene that you're climbing into the whale body is really disgusting.
Yes.
And what is that sticky thing exactly?
It was yeah, it was not a good day. It was cold, and I remember, so basically the way it would work is we'd all get ready in the morning and then we'd walk down to the set. And I remember I was in my trailer and someone was shouting outside. I went outside and we all had to sort of line up. And then this is when they would just sort of pour this like jelly on us to make it look like we were covered in this whale oil. And like it was freezing, okay? It was a night shoot and I probably had to clamber in and out of that whale 25 times. It was like being born. I was like born like 300 times in a day. So yeah, the worst part is that I would sort of have to like crawl in, they'd call cut, and then I'd have to come back out again. But because I was covered in all this sort of lubricant, I would sort of just about get out and then slip and fall right back in again. And yeah, it wasn't my most heroic moment. But I think it works in the movie. I think it looks great. And those gags that you see are completely real. I am holding back the vomit on that one.
只是最惨的还不止于此，一开始剧组为了让船员都保持良好体态，每天牛排点心吃香喝辣，结果到了电影后半段，船被鲸鱼毁了，在海上漂流没东西吃，演员们也得跟着饿肚子。像克里斯演雷神要有大肌肉，一天吃4000卡路里不嫌多，结果拍这部片到后来一天只能500到600卡路里，最后才能瘦成皮包骨。妈，我们随便吃一碗面都超过。
What exactly could you eat for the diet?
Nothing, basically. I mean, there was a lot of celery and vegetables and hummus, and if I never have hummus again, it'll be too soon.
What could you do if you were really, really hungry?
You know, sort of drink a lot of coffee or a lot of water, you know, and try and sort of trick your body into thinking it's full, but there's not much you can do, you know. Once we were right down to that those last few weeks when our calories were really restricted, you just, I don't know, you just kind of have to distract yourself in some way, you know, try and do something, get out of your head a bit, you know, because that's all you think about.
Did you guys talk about food a lot of times?
All the time, yeah. We'd sit on the whale boats and just like discuss our favourite foods or restaurants or what we're going to eat when we finish, and yeah.
The third time was towards the end of the shoot at sea, and I was on this diet. It was a really strict diet, and I was having quite a tough day, and I sort of sneaked to the crew catering area on the boat and stole a croissant, like one of those it just was full of sugar, let's just say that. And I was sort of looking around, and I wolfed it down. And because I hadn't eaten sugar in so long, my body was like, nope, it's got to go. And I just threw up over the side of the boat. And everyone was like, how are you doing that? Surely you have no food in your belly to throw up. And I just managed to throw it off as seasickness.
So did you have any cheat meal during some days off?
Yeah, some days, and then you'd feel incredibly guilty about it and kind of go and run on the treadmill for 2 hours. It was it was insanity.
Were you fasting along with actors during their diet, or?
I was already pretty thin, and it wasn't going to be healthy for me to get much thinner. But I did lose weight because I didn't dare eat a piece of pizza or a muffin in front of them. So I'd wind up eating their snacks when the snacks came around, which was usually, a cucumber with a little olive oil on it and an almond. That would be the big snack.
And you asked Tom Hanks for some advice?
I did. He'd been through severe weight loss a couple of times in his career, and I thought, it was interesting to learn, what the steps were, how long it took, and emotionally and psychologically what it meant to him. And it was very helpful, his advice.
And what was your first big meal after wrapping the film?
I came back to New York and I got a slice of New York pizza.
Let's do one more take. Freakiest thing anybody's ever experienced. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is that good for everybody? Can everybody do that?
You don't like the ocean at all, but you give us another great adventure. And what was the biggest challenge for you?
I think the challenge was the combination of all of the elements, which are unusual. It's partly what excited me about the movie, but it made it very difficult, which is to technically bring this whale and the world to audiences in a way that's totally authentic, and deal with the logistics of the real ocean, which we had to film in, and also maximize the very sensitive, dramatic, personal stories of the characters who were involved in this real life event, this tragedy.
We might also survive.
Promise me to come back.
Promise.